today will just be pretty chill. I see that Daniel has a little bit of beer going on right there. Fantastic. A little bit of Carlsberg. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's dive in. Let's get Alvin to share a little bit of stories. But before we dive in first, guys, I just want to ask, like, who here has heard that Alvin has a masterclass coming up? Hands up if you've heard that he has a masterclass. Okay, we have Daniel over there. Hansie, yes, no? No? Hansie, no? Not yet? Okay, Marcus has known. JC, good to see you. Right, JC, you can see us. Okay, so I would really advocate everyone to check out Alvin's masterclass. You know, they work rather closely with Alvin on this. He has a 2-day masterclass, ridiculous offer, okay, where he's going to teach you stuff on scaling and stuff like that. Alvin, if you don't mind, if you could find the link, let's put it inside the chat also, so that more people can be aware of that, and then we will start proper.
Cool.
Yeah, so we will start proper. We will probably record this and put it on Facebook also, I think. alvinpaul.com/masterclass. Please check it out. Not sure if the early bird is still on, but basically get 2 days of having our $30 million man help you with scaling your business and taking it to the next level. Okay, so cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
So Alvin, I hand the time over to you. Let's discuss a few things first. You know, some of these guys know who you are. Some of these guys don't. Today is not really a webinar, a preview session. Today is more like you sharing stories of how you discovered some of these things. I know it'll be pretty fun and exciting.
Yeah, guys.
So dive in, take it away.
Yeah, man. Let's do a round of introductions because I don't really know some of you. I know JC, we've been speaking for a bit. Daniel, obviously, I know, but for the rest of you, I don't really know you guys. So maybe we can just introduce each other. Just a quick round, like who you are, what you do, you know, and yeah, let's take it away from there.
Yeah, Hansie.
Start with
Yeah, I don't mind starting first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I met you before, Alvin. I think CMU. I think you were with Ye Kang. I think that was the one of the session that I think you were speaking about. So I think I saw that you have.
Was that in Singapore or?
Yeah, that was in Singapore. The one with Caro, Aaron, I think.
Right.
Aaron and Ye Kang. Yeah. So I think I met you then and there. Cool. Yeah, so what I'm doing, I'm currently in private equity, so just investing in F&B businesses and lifestyle concepts. Yeah,
awesome.
So yeah, that's about it. Looking forward to hearing more from everyone else.
Very cool. How about JC? What is it that you do, JC?
Yeah, so for me, I've been in Singapore for 10 years now, and I'm part of this S Entrepreneurs Group because we used to have our office in Block 71. And I have a couple of businesses, but mostly around the video. We just launched a platform for video for social media. So around video production, video marketing.
Cool. Very nice. And Daniel, what is it that you do, Daniel? You can tell the rest about.
Hello. Hi.
Best Minds.
I'm doing Best Minds. I'm running this company to do a Learn Smart system, teach people how to learn smart, and focusing on the pre-working adult groups. Yeah, mainly doing a merge of the study tools, mindset shifts, and personal systems to make people learn more effectively, learn more smartly, and of course, if they are studying, they can score much better in their
nice.
Exams.
Yeah, I love how you guys all have your different strengths, and I think that's the power of a community. Everybody comes together, we each have our own strengths, we each have our own specializations, but together we can grow much bigger as a community. So I really appreciate all of you being here. I think we have a few people that just joined. Andrew just joined, Martin just joined. Guys, this is going to be a super casual session. If you can, just turn on your camera so that everybody can see you. I think this is a space for us to like connect, to share, to relate stories of grit, which is the topic of today. I also have a beer. I know Daniel has a beer. If you guys have a beer, join in as well. Super casual session, just to share, just to grow. All right, who's next? I have heard from some of you. Who's next? Martin, are you around?
Hello.
Hey.
Mic test.
I know Martin, guys, but you guys should check out Martin because Martin's a great guy that handles a lot of financial stuff. So Martin, just introduce yourself, who you are, what you do. Yeah, and we can take it from there.
Hi. This is going to be quite impromptu because I didn't know we were going to have a meeting like this. I thought I'm going to be dialing in to hear you talk.
No, just a quick introduction.
Sure.
Because it's a small group, small close group. We just want everybody to get familiar with each other.
Sure. I'm in the financial industry currently, so I'm actually a financial advisor. So I'm sure you all know what a financial advisor does. So I advise clients on their investment, insurance stuff, on all that. I also do commercial insurance for all the SMEs and companies out there. Yep.
Yeah, I know Martin helped us with some commercial insurance in the past, which is great because if you ever dealt with a commercial broker, it is not a clear cut. I want to buy insurance, let's buy insurance, pay money and done. It's actually a long drawn process, and depending on what your business does and who you talk to, it can involve a lot of bouncing back and forth. So Martin is great in the aspect that he's really very hands on and he just basically gets stuff done. Surprisingly, I think the industry requires quite a bit of innovation or refreshment because the commercial insurance industry, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Martin, but seems a little dated, seems a little bit slower than the other industries.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of processes are still very outdated, and some of the things are driving me crazy as well.
Yeah. So Martin is basically the guy that we go to so that he actually handles all that crap so that we don't have to. And I think that's one of the benefits of having a great broker. But yeah, glad to have you on this call, Martin. Dennis just joined us also. Dennis, my good brother. Can you hear us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. This is a small casual session, so we're just going around the room, just introducing ourselves. So if you can just let us know who you are and maybe what you do, that would be cool.
Yeah, thanks, Alvin, and thanks for organizing this. This is a great initiative. I think you being the sort of the pillar for everybody to sort of stand up on. That's great, and very happy to meet you, Martin. I wasn't here for the other introductions, but hope to get to know all of you. Well, my name is Dennis. I don't really know how to title myself. I guess the word is a social entrepreneur. I basically start social enterprises. Like Alvin, I started off, as a government scholar, but unlike him, I actually didn't serve my bond. I decided to buy it out and start a company, and that company eventually took me to New York, which was an e-commerce marketplace platform. Exited from that company, started a social enterprise in New York, which basically gives young people in Singapore, particularly those individuals who don't have the opportunity to have an overseas educational experience. So those from the police, some of the people from the police and sort of unconventional backgrounds, less conventional backgrounds, to go to a place like New York City and learn from the Googles and the Spotifys and the Twitters and so on, just so that they can experience what it's like, mingling with the best and brightest in the world, and to hopefully inspire them. Then they go back to Singapore and they continue building something. Alvin is involved as an advisor, so that's great for us. And looking forward to learning all of your stories. Thanks, Alvin, for having me here.
Cool, man. Good to see you, brother. All right. I think we have Raymond also. Raymond Chan. Hey, man. Good to see you.
Hey, hello.
Yeah.
Hey, guys. Happy to see everyone. And thank you very much, Alvin, for hosting this session. Really appreciate it. I've heard about Alvin's name, I think, from a fellow friend in a Facebook live session. So we still haven't really booked a session to talk to Alvin. So really looking forward to that. Just to introduce ourselves a little bit. So me and my few partners, we run a small CorpSec firm in Singapore. We have been around the last 4 or 5 years, and recently we expanded to Hong Kong as well. For both reasons, right? I mean, partly is to facilitate Singapore corporates who want to go north to expand into China. It's still a long-term growth story, and also to really help Hong Kong corporates who are now looking for alternative. Maybe Southeast Asia is really the good hub to go forward in the next few years, right? So it's exciting times despite COVID, yeah. And a lot of change going around in US, China, and then Singapore as well, dealing with a lot of tensions of foreign talents, yeah. But surely, I mean, as business owners, I think we are also setting our sights in different jurisdictions to really capture the whole wave, right? So I think one cannot afford to just really focus on one country, but really have a multiple presence. Yeah, that's where we're trying to focus on.
Very cool. Awesome. Glad to have you here. Anybody else wants to share? I know a few of you don't have your screens on, so I don't know if you want to just do a quick introduction. Andrew, Chris, Marcus, are you guys on the call?
Hi Alvin, can you hear me?
Hey man, yeah, cool.
Yeah, guys. Actually, I'm here because I would like to get more inspiration from more of you guys. I'm a aspiring entrepreneur to be currently working as a mechanical consultant in a construction industry. So during my uni days, I had three startups that seems that failed along the way. So I really want to be back in the game of entrepreneurship. That's why I'm here to learn more stuff. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Glad to have you on the call. All right, Andrew and Chris, would you like to share some things about yourself? Don't know if you guys are around. Andrew, Chris. All right. Okay. Let's just start. If you guys happen to turn on your camera, let me know. But yeah, really good to see you guys, man. I think the objective of today's call is just to get to know everybody. Super casual session. We're going to share stories. I think you've seen me on social media a lot. I've been talking about how I scaled my business from $0 to $30 million. Man, that's not an overnight change. I think that requires a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work, and these are things that you guys have all experienced because nobody who runs a business really goes through a smooth sailing journey. It's a journey of hard work, it's a journey of sacrifice, it's a journey of grit, which is today's topic. So the way I looked at scaling my business, I mean, that was literally like 2 decades worth of entrepreneurship. And I started way back as a student, and I slowly figured things out by myself. So I remember the very first time I did hiring on my own. One of the things that, like, who here has hiring problems? I think that's something that, yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, anyone else has hiring problems? Yeah, cool. So yeah, this is something that I think affects everybody. And when I hired, right, I remember the first guy that came on board, he had a probation period. At least in Singapore, there's always this probation period, which was like 3 months. And during that probation period, I remember he did a really good job. So, as an employer, you want to show an appreciation to people, and you say, like, you know what, you're doing a really good job. I know the probation period is like 3 months, but if we cut it short, like, it kind of shows that you're doing something good, right? So that was our intent, me and my co-founder, and we wanted to tell him, you're doing a good job. And this was back then when we were in Hong Kong Street. So our Hong Kong Street office is this walk-up apartment, and we are sharing it with 2 other companies. So this is way back before WeWork started, and we needed an office space, right? So we started off in that small little 1,200 square feet of office. And I remember sitting that guy down, and we were in the middle of that open office, talking about his compensation, talking about his structure, talking about all his employment details, out in the open. So me and my co-founder seated right beside him doing all of that. And it was only after that meeting that we realized that something was very, very strange and something that was very, very wrong. And that's when I realized, oh no, we should really have a quiet space. We should really have a private space to go through details like that. But these are the things that really make me understand, hiring is just like any other thing in a company. It has to be something that you give thought to. You got to actually design it. You can't just, go whack on it and just try to make things work. I always believe that things happen, if not by default, then you have to design it. Otherwise, things are just going to happen by default, and it's not what you want. So that's one of the stories that I have. I don't know if anybody wants to share about like a HR story or a hiring story that that impacts you, or that you've actually like took away something from. From me, I realized from that processes are important, systems are important, and that everything must happen by design. I don't know if that resonates with anybody like that. Tell me more about the stories that shaped you as an entrepreneur. Like anything that anyone wants to share.
Yeah, Alvin, thanks for sharing. Maybe I'll go first, and hopefully other folks can jump in as well. This coming from a sort of a Singaporean Asian perspective. When I first expanded the company to the US, we set up an office in Manhattan, and that was the first time I ever went to New York. This was about 5 years ago, and I was just, first of all, it was my first time there, so I was just trying to figure out like how to live in a place like this. Secondly, setting up an office, and then thirdly, hiring. So this was totally new to me. I was like the stupidest guy in the place, and I I invited a whole bunch of people who I eventually shortlisted for the interview, brought them in, and we had the interview. And I realized that New Yorkers really know how to sell themselves, man. Like, in Singapore, like we had a whole bunch of people who were like, they hope that we see something special in them, but they themselves will not say it out loud.
Yeah.
But then in New York, like every single person I interviewed, I was like, damn, I wish I could hire this person. And I ended up interviewing so many people and wanting to hire all of them. I did hire like 5 of them. And within 2 weeks, I had to let go like half of the team or most of the team, because I realized that there was a real difference in what they were pitching, what they were selling, and in terms of their ability to deliver. And I consider it totally my fault. Cost the company tens of thousands, not tens of thousands, but a few $1,000s. But eventually, it was a big learning experience about how to sell and how different cultures sell themselves.
Yeah.
And in New York, they sell themselves super well, but not always necessarily the best ones to deliver.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Like, okay, so that's a great story, guys. I don't know if you guys are you guys are looking for team members, or you guys already have team members. But that's one of the things that I realized is necessary for a business to scale. That what Dennis went through, that's not something that's specific to New York. It's not specific to his case. It's not specific to startups only. It's specific to, it actually applies to any business, any size, anywhere in the world. Why? Because of hiring. And especially in these times when hiring now crosses borders, when hiring now no longer is geographically centered or geographically limited. We're now looking at hiring teams and hiring people from anywhere, which means our hiring processes and systems have got to be more robust. Just like Dennis, I went through the same thing as well. In Singapore, it's a little bit different though. I remember hiring fresh graduates. At first I just opened up the pool to anybody, and then I really got all kinds of people applying, and this was a role for a customer support officer. So all kinds of people apply, and I remember interviewing every one of them. And I'm not sure if anyone has done hiring yourself, but from my experience is that it becomes a huge drain on your time and attention and energy, especially if you are basically the filter. If you do not have a system, if you do not have a filter, if you do not have any criteria set, or anybody in front of you to handle this hiring process, you are basically the guy that's doing all of that. And if you are basically taking everybody that looks good, then you're going to be facing a real shortage of time. Now, how do you do that? How do you fix that? I found that it was really important to come up with a very, very clear idea of what the ideal candidate for that role is. So you're going to find people applying for the role who say and claim that they have many, many years of experience, who has a resume that looks like stellar, that has like a person who has like maybe work experience at famous companies and has a ton of references. How do you test whether that person is suitable for the role or not? So I found that what really matters is that we really dive down and really look at what matters to us. So I don't know who found it. If you guys hired, you guys have all tried hiring before, right? Everybody, JC as well, yeah. So when you hire, there's always a difference between like people who are experienced and people who are maybe fresh from school. That's usually the two main groups that you have. And from there, you can actually break it down and start looking at, whether you want to find someone that has like the skill sets, which is what I call aptitude, and then the attitude, which is more of the soft aspects of things like your personality. Give me a second, guys. People are joining the call still. So as and when people join, I'm just gonna like let them in, and then you can join us. So yeah, I was saying, so there's attitude, and then there's attitude as well. So yeah, you can definitely find someone that has really good aptitude and really good attitude as well. So this is someone who's like basically a unicorn. He has the technical skills, he has the knowledge, he has the ability, the capability, the working experience, and he also has the values that you're looking for, the personality to suit your company culture, empathy, and whatnot, whatever that's important for you for that role, right? And when that happens, when this combination is something that you look out for, you realize that either number one, it takes like ages for you to find a candidate because you have to like sieve through like thousands of people and wait weeks or months even before you can actually find somebody that kind of matches that, because it's near impossible to find, right? Or when you do find that person, you realize that he or she is super expensive. That's typically it. Anyone find this familiar? Yeah, yeah. I think this is common throughout the industry. So how do you solve this? So for us, when we looked at customer support, I think one of the problems that we identified is, all right, we like, mind you, this was way back. This was when we were like maybe, I think I was about 26. The company was just started for like a year or two, and we didn't have funds. We were not like, we were not flush with cash. On the contrary, we needed to be super lean, right? So every single cent, every single dollar counted. And that's why we couldn't afford these like expensive hires. So one of the things that we found that was super necessary is to really understand who is it that we're looking for, what is it that we need. So what do we need? We need a customer support guy, right? And what is a customer support guy that requires? Basically, he or she just needs to know how to use the computer, understand like the tech stuff, and be good with like empathy and understanding, right? So that's the basic requirement. And then from that basic requirement, we realize, hey, that's something that's more achievable. Like we can definitely find somebody that fits that criteria a lot easier. Because prior to that, our criteria was, okay, you got to have web hosting experience, you've got to have like technical like aptitude, you've got to have like customer service experience before, but it was expensive and we couldn't find these people. Does that make sense to all of you? So after we reduced our criteria, that was when we realized, oh, we can actually find people that actually fit the bill. And that was when we realized that, hey, we can actually find like tests to test for certain things that were important to us. Yeah, so for customer support, if support is the issue, then we just come up with a test in our hiring process to test for support or test how they handle support. Like those exams in schools where you have a problem and then you come up with like a solution to the problem. That's, I think, as simple as that. From there, I can tell immediately how they respond to a customer, how they respond to a given case. I can see whether or not this guy has like empathy. I can see whether this guy's he knows what to look out for, because you don't need to be a certified engineer to look at a problem and say, okay, so this guy has a problem with his server or his service, and maybe the next steps will be yada yada yada, right? It's a very logical step of sequences that you have to follow, that you can follow. So that was my experience. I think that really helped us shape our hiring process. I'm not sure if this kind of resonates with any one of you. Like, does anybody else have like hiring problems or hiring systems that you're trying out right now and you don't know it's working, or if you have problems with it, like maybe you could share with the group, and like we can all hear it.
Yeah, I think for us, we have the biggest part of our team is in the Philippines, so we hire there. And now we do actually what the thing we have improved a lot is to do tests. To ask people to actually do a simple test and then a more difficult test in the application process. So we receive a lot less applicants, but they are much more qualified. Actually, it's better for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We use a platform called Vervo. We use a platform called Vervo. I mean, there are many platforms out there, but to funnel basically these people.
Yeah. I think JC mentioned something that's like critical for not just hiring, but for like any aspect of your business. We don't want everyone. As much as it sounds great, like I want to appeal to the whole market. I want to appeal to everybody, both in terms of my sales and both in terms of my hiring. But that's not what we want. you know, if you ask me whether I want to hit like 100,000 people, or if you want me, or if you ask me whether I want to just hit 10 people who are super qualified and fit my criteria, I have now come to a point where I realize I don't want 100,000 people anymore. I want just the 10 people who are super qualified, who fit my criteria, and of the 10, I can choose the best ones that, you know, we have an alignment with, we have like we have a match. That's something that's so important to me now. Not just in hiring, I knew like even in terms of customers, that's really really important too, because sometimes you get customers that might not necessarily fit your target avatar, your basically your demographic, right? So our demographic, it's SMEs that are like 1 to 15 men. They don't have an IT team or IT capabilities in-house, and that's why they come to someone like Vodian. That's why they come to my company, my business in the past, and that's where we help them. That's real value, right? But once you start getting people who are, you know, maybe they don't fit that, maybe they are they have for some reason or not, they are maybe too small or too big, or they are not looking at maybe IT is not really their one of their core functionalities or their main functionalities. And then if that's the case, then that customer doesn't really appreciate the kind of service that you provide. It becomes more of a, you know, why am I paying for your service rather than I need your service, how can I get more value, or how can I, you know, how can you help me more, kind of arrangement. So I think it's super important that we start to realize that and we start to like streamline it, so that we reach out to people that really we really resonate with, that who really resonate with us as well. So yeah. Anybody has like other stories to share? I want to hear more about, like from you guys. Daniel,
yeah, probably maybe some questions, since there are some very experienced entrepreneurs here, other than Alvin. What are some of the red flags do you all look out for when you are doing an interview process? Because as what Dennis mentioned, in certain cultures, they tend to, when they pitch themselves, they tend to overclaim. And then when it comes to delivery, they often does not deliver as what they claim. So I would like to, more interestingly, get some specific examples, because this is an informal chit-chat session. Specific examples, I think, would be very exciting to know. Interesting stories. Yeah, could you mind sharing some of the specific stories that you have encountered?
Let me start. I know one of the very common things that I get, especially when I use job boards and very very generic job application, job hiring platforms, is that once I put out a job ad, a lot of people do not read it. They basically apply in mass. They just like click 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 click, apply. And so that's a huge problem, especially if you want to find people that are really serious about the role. So if that's the case, and if you know the platform has like a mass function, you have to try to weed those people out. So I tried putting in questions in my job description, and that actually helped me filter a lot of people out. Would I have false positives, or rather would I have false negatives? Yeah, of course, I would have lost certain people that were great, but you know, maybe didn't read the job description or something. But I think that's fine, because what's more important is that the people who do reply with like the answer, the correct answer, I think those are people that are really serious about their job. They've read your job description and they found that it applied to them and appealed to them, and then they still continue. If that's the case, you know that they are serious about it. You know that this is something that sorry, somebody just joined, so I'm letting him in. So yeah, you know that person is serious, and that's something that I think is really important. If not, then you get a whole bunch of people that are not serious. They're just applying it in mass. So that's one of the red flags that I think I found that I can actually filter out. I'm not sure if anybody here has like experiences like that, like, you know, what kind of red flags you found in the hiring process.
Yeah, Daniel's point is, it's for specific examples, and this we can you know, I can laugh over a beer today, but at the time it was very painful. Trust me, when you lose like thousands of dollars. I think you know, before getting to that specific example of the individual who I actually let go after 3 days, this was the first person I I told my fiance at the time, now my wife, I was like, yeah, I haven't gone to the Brooklyn Bridge, I haven't gone to the Statue of Liberty, but I already fired somebody here in New York. So that was like one of my earliest
Oh,
experience. But
wow.
I think that when I reflect on that experience, I realized that because I was coming from a position of weakness, right? I had just come to New York. I was feeling very vulnerable. I was feeling like, oh, I really needed someone with an experienced hand who's going to help me. And this person who came to me was like, 20 years plus experience, corporate high flyer, wanted to do something in the startup space, because startups, even more than now at that time in 2015, it was all the buzz, right? It was like the peak period to say the least. And people were all, and this startup coming from Singapore, venture funded, it was all sexy, right? Like people wanted to join us. And I think that because I was coming from a position of weakness, I was not thinking clearly. I was just trying to bring someone in order to sort of like solve an unknowable problem, which is basically establishing a footprint in New York or in the US. I just brought on anyone that sort of ticked basic boxes, which is experience, well connected, spoke well, seemed to have leadership qualities. But what I was missing was really like a cultural fit. Like this person really was not someone who was working well with anybody else. She was not very good with my Singapore team. She she was like, even the conversation, my Singapore team doesn't complain, but they told me like, hey, look, like, are you sure you brought in the right person here? And there was this sort of sense of extreme and unhealthy individualism that I could not see. But initially it looked very good because it was like coming across as confidence. And I think that if you see someone constantly talking about themselves way too much, without any questions or without any inquisition about what you are doing or what they can do for you, then I think it's kind of a red flag, because then they're really all about themselves. And in this case, this person was excessively all about herself. And I couldn't have let this person go faster. It was a very bad experience because I didn't want to come to the country and fire people, but then at least she walked away with some money, and a lot of money. But that was my experience. Coming from a position of strength rather than a weakness, knowing your own vulnerabilities, which will cause you to make quick decisions which are bad, and also looking at the candidates' interest in beyond just themselves. If it's, of course, everyone is self-interested and trying to achieve their own goals, and that is great. But if it becomes excessive to the point where nothing else matters but my own personal goals and everything else kind of like irrelevant to that person, then I think it's kind of a red flag for me.
Well, can I ask another question? Well, how long do you think a probation is a reasonable period for probation? Because certain people, or put it this way, for real talents that you headhunt, is it reasonable to put probation on headhunted talent?
Yeah, for sure. You should put probation periods on anyone. I think it's not a question of how experienced that person is, or how much capability that person is. It's not that. The reason behind probation periods is because both of you, the employer, the employee, want to see if there's a match in terms of, because it's basically like a marriage, right? You can find like, I'm a guy, right? So I'm looking for a girl, for example. I can find the most beautiful looking girl, but does it mean I'm going to marry her tomorrow? No, right? Like I need to go through a dating process, because it's not just looks that we're looking at, right? It's personality, it's character, it's values, it's the whole package, and seeing whether you can work together. So in the end, maybe it's not the prettiest looking girl that I want to marry. I want to find the girl who can actually match me more than just looks, right? So in the same case, in the same vein, like whoever you hire in your company has to go through a probation period, not because of capability, not because you're doubting their capability or doubting their experience, but more because you want to see if there's a match, if you guys can work together on a team together. So it's perfectly fine. You can put like, for me personally, I think you can put a month, 2 months, 3 months. I think it's fine as well. You can shorten and you can even lengthen it, as long as there's just cause, as long as there's a reason behind it, and as long as both of you can agree, I think that's fine. Sometimes maybe you don't have, again, this boils down to your systems, your processes. If by the 3rd month you haven't been able to determine what you set out to determine, then I think extending the probation is best. and then try to make sure that you come up with like the tests in order to evaluate the candidate properly. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. I don't know if anyone else has any more to add to that.
In Singapore, I think there is a informal term for probation that's called pak tor. Pak tor to see.
Yeah.
You know, for couples, you call pak tor. Before you marry, you have to pak tor a while.
Yeah.
Get to know each other better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just a dating period.
Yeah, dating.
Yeah.
Because I believe I always hear the wrong hire is very, very costly. Very, very costly.
It is. Yeah.
Because while they are in the company, they can screw up a lot of things, and that is the costly part, more than the salary. That's why I probably feel. But I never hired directly under somebody directly before. So other than interns. So yeah, I'm not very experienced in this area. So I'm here to learn more stories from the rest who have experience.
So I think hiring wrong so if there's a scale, right, like there's like 0 to whatever, and you want to try to be the best that you can, and you try to hire, right, so you get the best you can. If you hire wrong, it doesn't just drop you back. It doesn't just end at 0. Sometimes you can go down to negative as well, because the problem with a bad hire isn't just you get neutral performance. Sometimes you get negative performance. Sometimes your other team members need to compensate for the negative performance that person has. Sometimes it's toxicity, right? Sometimes that person introduces a level of toxicity that makes it impossible for anybody to do good work. Imagine doing work and then like your team member undermines you, and there's a bunch of politics that happen. That's something that you don't want. But will happen if you hire wrong. If you hire somebody that's completely like misaligned, completely like not sharing your values, completely like not a team player at all. And that's why hiring wrong is so important, or so like devastating. Yeah, hopefully that answers the question. If anybody else has something to share, this is a great time to share it.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I came from the public service. Public service, the government is the one that hires. So, I mean, in Singapore, I don't know who have worked in a public service before. I used to work in the Ministry of Education for a while. And I would say this thing, the processes to fire some civil servant is very, very difficult. You really have to do something really, really very, very wrong for you to get terminated. So even if you are completely incompetent, they will still find a way to deploy you so that they don't have to go through the process of firing somebody, because the processes in place before they can hire a civil servant is really, really very, very cumbersome. So that is one of the reasons why when I dealt with civil servants and I find some very, very frustrating questions, I ask myself, how come is he or she still in this job? Why is he deployed to do this thing and cert? Then I realized, okay, probably they are deployed there because they can't be deployed anywhere else. And some of them really, really not fit for the job, but they are there because there is no good reason to fire them. Yeah, that's for the public service. And even with my friends who are very high up there, they know that there's a system. So, we dealt with we have to deal with it lah. And this, if we have to be a bit more forgiving lah, if we happen to see people in the public service who we think cannot perform, but sometimes it's not really, it's not really they are not really the best people for the job. They are really just there for a job. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
The public and private sectors are completely different in that regard.
Yes.
The public sector is something that I don't think have the right, or they don't have the criteria that the private sector has. I think there's some drilling, some construction going on. So yeah, they don't have that kind of criteria because they're not bounded by the same kinds of profit like requirements, the same kind of P&Ls requirement that we have in the private sector. And therefore there's a big leeway for the public sector. So you can't really compare the public and private sectors. And that's why as entrepreneurs, we need to make sure that we have a real tight grasp on our systems, no matter what. And that's why systems are so important to me. And that's why I have the 5E scale engine, right? It goes cut across the board. I know some of you sign up for the masterclass, so you guys will get like a 2-day experience where I dive down deep into like each and every principle, and you can see how that applies. This same concept of a systems-led thinking applies not just for hiring, not just for HR. It cuts across the board. How you structure your company in every regard must be systematic, because growth is great, but if you want to scale, if you want to get to a point where you have things automated, if you have things that you have people that are trained for the role, and you get to a point where you can be working on the business rather than in the business, taking care of every single decision, you have to find systems, and it starts from the fundamentals. So I'll go through all of that in my masterclass. Again, guys, you guys can, if you guys have not joined, it's available. The first one is coming up this weekend. I have another session that's coming up next weekend. And if you know anyone that is suitable, any entrepreneur, any business owner that maybe is at a growth stage and they just want to break free and go on to the scale stage, for them, I guess the masterclass is something that I would highly recommend. Let them check it out, because I have a money back guarantee. I'm really confident that as long as people go through this 5 steps, these 5 principles, they'll definitely see that it's a lot easier to scale up their business. So it's the systems-led thinking. So if you know anyone, send them to that link. It's alvinpo.com/masterclass. First session happening this weekend. Next session is happening on next weekend. And it's a 1-for-1 ticket. So yeah, guys, please make use of it. We have a few people joining us now. Jacqueline and Sid. So, Thomas is here too. I didn't see Thomas. So Thomas is here too. Yeah. Really good.
I just hop in because I mean, the funny thing is I just hired a customer service person today, and that's why I got overrun a bit and I managed to join. So I didn't really know what you guys were discussing just now. But I mean, from what I see, it's probably, I mean, something about hiring and the processes and how do you define a good hire and bad hire. Very good. I mean, I only catch part of it, but see what you guys will be happy to share. I'll be happy to share also on my own experiences.
Yeah, so again, this whole session is going to be super casual. We're just sharing experiences, sharing stories, and sharing like how we manage to grow, how we manage to overcome certain things. And what we've been talking about in the past hour or so is basically like hiring processes, red flags. How do we hire the right candidate? What happens if we hire the wrong candidate? And things like that. So Thomas is a guy that I spoke to like recently, and Thomas is really interesting because I'm sure that most of you have seen his business. It's something that you see a lot, especially during CV. I don't know why, but during CV I saw it pop up. And I don't know if Thomas wants to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone. I'm Thomas. I'm one of the founders for Zario. It is an online Japanese grocer. So we basically do e-commerce and we do online grocery. I mean the reason why I saw Alvin's posting, and I mean during CB, just would like to clarify that we did quite a fair bit of organic marketing and also social media marketing. We're quite good at that. So probably you're one of the target audience and you are targeted. You're one of the targeted audience for our ad. So yeah. But I mean right now, just want to share with you guys that we are. To be honest, I don't really know. Can't put myself whether if we are in the scale stage or the growth stage. Since COVID, our business has blossomed a fair bit, and that's the reason why I'm hiring pretty exponentially and aggressively. Based on our previous experiences, I don't have bad hires before, to be honest with you. But I do let go of them very promptly when I know that okay, this guy is not a culture fit. It doesn't fit with our team. As what you mentioned just now, right? The output that he has at the end of that, it is negative output. So I'd rather let go than giving me another 3 more months and I try out and I just work out with the kinks of the problems or the issues that we have with the team. Because at the end of the day, yes, I might have one person helping me doing stuff, but is he really helping us in a more positive output, or is he actually bringing the whole team down? Yeah. So since then, right, we have like processes and like even assessment tests to help out and help us clarify and assess our potential candidates before we actually hire them. Because I realized that like face-to-face interviews, right, it doesn't really work that well. you can only see it on the surface. Like you need some assessment related to the core job scope to actually pick out the correct candidates. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. I think the filtration process, the testing process is so crucial. I think that's one of the reasons. Like I feel systems are necessary, especially in HR. Like once I got a few things that were right and that made sense and connected the dots, that enabled me to scale up. And what is scaling? Scaling is basically moving from just hiring one or two people to hiring teams at once. So as my customer support team grew, we were 150 people at one point in time, and we grew from like 30 to 40 people. So in 2 years, we grew from 30 to about 150. That kind of growth required like a different kind of system. And if I didn't have the systems in the first place, then that would be a problem. And what do I mean by systems? Systems basically allowed me to pass what I know to my department heads, because now I couldn't be the one that the single point of the bottleneck that could handle all the hiring. Now I had to make sure that I had people that could hire based on whatever criteria, whatever systems that I put in place, and then translate it down into the actual hiring of staff. So that's very important. That's the third principle that I'll teach: empower, creating the system, because it's not just the hiring process, it's also the retaining of staff and the growing of staff. That's how you get a high performance team. You can't just hire and then have the guy leave in 3 months and you're not going to go anywhere. Or you just hire wrong, or you get a team together but nobody's performing because nobody knows what's going on. And yeah, so it has to be a holistic thing. That's why in everything that I do, everything is a system. Everything is working together as one. We don't focus on just things ad hoc or things individually. We have to look at it, take a bird's eye view, kind of zoom out and look at it. That's why the 5 E's are there. That's why there's a sequence to the 5 E's as well. And that's how I structured the masterclass. So if you go through the masterclass, I have 2 days to dive down into all the details, take on any questions, and you guys can see how the 5 E's translate into actual actions that you can implement in your business. So
Just wondering quick question. How do you keep talented people motivated to stay in the company? Because usually talents are very mobile. I mean, there is mediocre 90 here nor there. They just hope you won't fire them, some of them. But the talents are really, really good. They are easily poached. So what are the things which systems they can put in place, make sure that talented people stay rooted and loyal to the company, to the organization?
Yeah. Well, this is stuff that I'm literally going to cover in the masterclass. Does anybody have a system or any technique right now that you can share in the group right now? Any systems that you have to, if you find someone like A player, he's finally managed to come to you, he likes your job posting, he likes your job, your company. How do you keep that guy? What do you guys look out for? How do you structure stuff? Or is it just a hope and pray technique?
Well, I'll jump in first, and I'd love to hear from Thomas, JC, and others, right? I kind of have a totally different school of thought, right? In my head, right, anyone I hire is going to leave. Like, they're just going to leave. Because we want to hire the absolute most talented individuals ever that we can possibly get. It's a very high, very tall order, but that's what we try to do. And because of that, I think that, trying to keep them on board beyond like a specific point in time is nearly impossible. This is just by the data, right? Like a 15-year-old today, on average, is going to have 15 jobs in their life. You take a very talented person, I think that those are the people who are like skewing the data in that direction. So I think that if you build, and that's why I think Alvin's perspective and approach is excellent, because I think for what he's doing and what he's teaching, and I've personally benefited a lot from it, is you're building a process and a system first, and then the people can help accelerate and rocket ship you to where you want to go. But then building around individual talents, I think, is a completely losing game. But we'd love to hear from you guys, Thomas, JC, anyone else.
Personally, okay, to be honest with you, right now, Zaro has a pretty lean team. I only recently started to hire executive role level kind of people in to really help me. I mean, for me, I need to really start delegating like the more day-to-day tasks so we can I can focus on scaling the company. For me, at the end of the day, from my experience, okay, this is our 6th year. I would say pretty much we're still in the growth stage. We only started really expanding the company from year 3 because of the revenue growth and all. At the end of the day, I realized that like monetary rewards is not for everybody. For me, what I try to do is try to understand each of my staff individually better to know what intrinsically what do they really want in life. I mean, as you all know, millennials, they are a tough bunch to really hold on to. They like to experience different things. They like to cross function. They like to explore new functions. They like to see new things, and money is definitely not one of the things that they are looking for. Of course, I mean, if you have good pay, that's of course that's a given. But I feel that you need to provide them something more. Like for myself, what I try to implement is I want to have work-life balance for everybody. And what I try to implement is like a wellness program where I incentivize them. Let's say if they, I mean, they are all allocated a certain amount of money per year for them to spend on their well-being, be it they want to use the money for staycations, for holidays, which is a bit impossible now, like or anything for you if they want to get a new pair of specs, they want to go for facials, they can do it. So all these like intrinsic benefits where I feel you at least make them feel that okay, their employer actually cares for me. It's not just about like slogging for them and making sure that I get my job done. He actually the founders actually give them about my well-being, and for me that's how I try to do it. I mean, I also like to hear you guys. I mean, any other extra methods or like some special ways that y'all can really touch with your.
Yeah, I think for us, definitely we go along these lines as well. I mean, first of all, I think there is not incompatible, first of all, to be very selective on the applicants. And then after that, of course, you want to retain people, but they're not going to stay with you forever. And you should be happy for them when sometimes they get a job which is amazing. You cannot offer to them in the company, and you have the kind of network of alumni that you keep good relationship with. And it's a network of people we stay in contact with some people who've been working with us many years ago. And yes, for us, I think it's exactly like this. For us, we also offer more work-life balance and good atmosphere. Like the people we have in Singapore, some of them actually they were in companies before where the atmosphere was not so great. We discovered that, and so I think that's something we provide. And in Philippines, I think it's more reliability. Like the people we have in the Philippines, we first of all, some people they don't pay on time and stuff like that. So we always pay on time. We always pay on time, and we make them come to Singapore maybe once a year. But of course now we cannot do it right now. But which very few companies do, because sometimes they're employed by companies in the US. Maybe they travel to the Philippines or something, but it's not the same as they have to get a passport and come to Singapore, even if it's a couple of days. And this type of things is what really matters, I think, to also build the business. At least for us, yeah, that's our experience.
Anyone else? So I think what you guys share is awesome, because what Thomas said is true. And it's not something that is millennial specific. It's something that is human specific. It's just that the previous generations, they didn't have that ability to talk about it, or they didn't have the knowledge that it's something that's important. But it is, because that's the way that we behave, that's the way that we live. If we look at our parents, we look at the older generations, it's something that everybody appreciates. Work-life balance. You cannot be someone that just spends all day long doing one thing only. It's not healthy. Even if it's like going to the beach, you can't spend all your life going to the beach. Similarly, you can't spend all your life at the desk working at the job. So there has to be balance in our lives. So yes, that's one aspect, the work-life balance. But like personally, I find that in terms of work performance, in terms of work culture, there are 3 things that we can do. Work-life balance is great. Providing benefits, taking care of welfare, that's something that must be done. But more importantly, to encourage work performance, to encourage them to do better at their job. And more importantly, to do it together as a team. Now that's something that's super important in a company culture. That's something that I'll be covering in my masterclass. So guys, don't miss it. check it out. I know some of you guys have signed up, so that's something that I'll be covering, and I'm super excited to be sharing with all of you. Anybody else has anything that you want to share about hiring and how you actually motivate your staff and keep the A-listers? Yeah, because when someone joins you and he or she is an A player, the last thing that you want is for that person to leave prematurely. So in the meantime, how do you make sure that that person is happy? You can provide what that person is looking for.
Hi, Martin here. So I don't have experience in hiring and keeping A-listers, but maybe just want to share what I feel is that I think it's important what is the vision that you give to the person when you join the company and what is the end game in mind. Because if let's say you're a fast startup and you have visions of listing your company on the stock exchange sometime, then he could be incentivized with stock options. I think it's a very simple way to say it, but if he can buy into that vision and you can convince him that he's going to be a key management staff all the way to the listing and he buys into the vision, then maybe he will stay all the way. Of course, if that's not your end game, then you might have to try other ways. And having said that, even the turnaround of this staff might be a good thing. Let's say a very good staff, right? He stays with you for 3-4 years and he has grown a lot. He has given you a lot of his ideas. Sometimes it's also good for him to move on and you having to replace with someone else who can bring you fresh ideas as well. So I think it works both ways. So that's just how I feel. But I think the company also needs people who are stable in the sense that they can get the job done, and you don't want a lot of attrition for these people. So sometimes maybe the age plays a part, like people who are more settled in their career and just want to be at a certain place compared to you hiring a fresh grad who probably want to try out many, many different jobs.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I think one of the things that you mentioned is that, how do you make sure that these guys align to the vision that you have, which is great because vision is something that I think entrepreneurs don't communicate enough. We all have it in our minds, in our heads. We know what we want, but how do we communicate it? How do we simplify it? Because we have all these things going on. We have like these grand visions. We want to do this, we want to do that. In 10 years time, we want to be like that. But from here to 10 years later, that's a long time. That's a journey of many years. How do you communicate right now what they should be doing, what they should be working on, and how do you excite them so that they can be working towards that vision that is 10 years later? So like what you said, that IPO listing or whatever it is, that's something in the future that people sign up for. But that's a monetary kind of victory or monetary kind of vision. There are other kinds of visions as well that inspire, motivate, and encourage people to do what they do at their job. So it's to explore that, is to to encourage that within the company culture, so that this becomes a virtuous cycle. This becomes something that people who want to work and who want to contribute to. Because, man, as entrepreneurs, we are typically also shareholders. But the employees that join us, they are not shareholders, usually at the start, right? If they're not shareholders, how do you expect them to perform at the kind of sacrifice that we put in, at the kind of effort that we put in? So there has to be something else that they are looking for other than monetary, other than financial performance. And it's up to you, up to the entrepreneur, to actually design your company, to design your company culture, to design everything to encourage them to do their best. Yeah. So there are a few things that I cover in my masterclass that will talk about this, because these are the things that I went through in my entrepreneurial journey as well. Like I said, I grew a team from 30 all the way up to 150, and incentivization is something that we looked at. Incentivization not with cash, not with financials, or not with financial motivation, but like with other things. How do you encourage them to do their best? How do they know what they're doing is worth their time, right? It's not a millennial thing. It's not just a millennial thing. It's more prevalent right now because of the millennials, but it's a human thing. So yeah, guys, if this is something that appeals to you, this is something I'll be covering in the masterclass. So check it out. Does anybody have any more questions? Because we are coming towards the end of an hour. In fact, I think we've already come to the end of an hour. I just wanted this to be a very casual thing, to share some stories. So hopefully you guys got value out of this. You got like some idea of, we covered various things about HR, hiring systems, shared a couple of stories, most of them funny in retrospect, but I know it's painful to go through. But thank you for sharing all of that, especially Dennis with your stories with New York. Man, I love it. Yeah, so any last words from anyone? If not,
just want to say thanks, Alvin, for making time for this, and good luck to everyone during this crazy time. Better days ahead, and in some cases, like Thomas, they are already here.
yeah. So thanks so much for making your time available, guys. Hopefully you guys got value out of this, and hopefully you guys can connect. All of us are entrepreneurs right here.
Yeah, I signed up for the session this weekend, and I told my guys I won't be available. I'll be I'll be in the office still, but I'll be very focused on your masterclass. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome,
yeah, to gain more knowledge and sharing session with you guys also.
Yeah,
because I'm very sure as business owners, there's a lot of problems and issues we face on a daily basis, and it's very hard for me to reach out to my guys sometimes because they don't understand on the bigger scale. So I guess that's where this is a good support group where we share with each other our issues and how we can, come together and solve it. And also to learn from Alvin, of course. I mean, from like basically from like a 30-person startup team to like 150. That's something amazing, and it's not easy to do for sure. Yeah. So really looking forward to the masterclass.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing this finally as well. Like I was like putting off a masterclass for a really long time until I realized that this is probably the best way to really like distribute knowledge. So yeah, I mean, this is the first time I'm doing it. I don't know if I'm doing it again. It is a lot of work preparing for this. I now know how a teacher feels. So I fully intend to hit it out of the ballpark. I want to do my best, deliver as much value as I can within the 2 days, and really show you guys what it takes to scale up a company from $0 to $30 million and the process that I went through to get there. So yeah, the link is alvinpo.com/masterclass. Check it out or share it with a friend that might benefit. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for your time. Keep in touch. I'm available on social media, alvinpo.com, and on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You guys know where to find me. Yeah, take care, man. I'll see some of you this weekend real soon.
Thank you. Yes, yes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye. Thanks.
Yeah, see you. Thanks.
Bye.
Alvin. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Man.